I've been seeing a number of questions lately on different homeschool groups online about reading levels and how to assess my child's reading level and are they important? This is obviously something that is weighing on people's minds because of the amount of times I'm actually seeing this question being posed again and again. But it's also an important question because you get a wide variety of answers. Do they matter? If so, why? Should we care about them? And how can we assess? Hi, and welcome to Learning Life, and thank you so much for joining me today. Look, I want to say that reading levels, are they important for kids? Yes, but they're not the whole story, and we're going to come to that. Look, I love to read. Bibliophile, love to learn, love to just pull out information, and, I love to present the information too, and I love answering questions. So I thank you. I really do thank you so much for watching today, for being part of this learning life together, for your likes and subscribes, sharing with friends, your comments, all that great stuff. Because again, we're in this together. Now, I am a teacher, I'm an educator, and I know that reading levels are important, but they're really not the whole story. There are so many variables, and we cannot get bogged down in it. So obviously, when I'm seeing this question time and time again, it's people are really quite concerned. Is my child reading where they should be? All of these things. I get it. But the key is to finding a balance. One thing that I ultimately struggle with is when we're pushing our children to be reading early. And I mean pushing to read early. There are natural early readers. I was one. But when we push them, we're going to read early and then we're going to read ahead of their development. It really isn't going to work out well in the long run. It's really not. It can backfire. Now, are there children who are naturally reading early and then stay advanced throughout their years? Yes, but they are not the norm and they're not the ones that we should be looking at and going, well, my child should be like that. No, let's actually look where they're at and what they could be doing. Why reading levels matter. There are a few reasons. Just a few reasons why they matter. Because, they are providing valuable information, but they shouldn't limit a child's reading experience. We should care more about the fact that our child is reading. Okay, they do provide a strong foundation for learning because we know that, if we can read, we need those skills. In all subjects, we cannot do history, social studies, science, math, any of those without being able to read. So reading levels do provide the foundation for what we need for the content that we might be learning. Now, children who are reading proficiently, so they're where they should be by third grade, are actually more likely to graduate high school. This was just one metric from a bunch of different studies. It doesn't paint the whole picture. So I don't want you to worry. If you're but my child's in third grade and not quite where they're at. This is not to point that out. But really the main key thing of this, why reading levels can matter, is if our children are getting to approximately where they should be, they are more likely to continue through. We don't want to just back off and let them sit at a lower one. And as we know with reading, there are lifelong benefits. Look, yes, we have audiobooks, which are wonderful. We have text-to-speech, which my girls think is great. But good reading skills, they're needed for daily life. We go shopping, for job opportunities, for our future, we need to be able to read. But children do develop at different paces, so it really is essential to consider their needs. And so in this, knowing where they're at, their reading level, it can actually help us to match them with suitable books. And I think that that's the key thing, suitable books. To me, one of the big worries about pushing children early is they might be reading at a more advanced level, but the content of the book isn't suitable. Just because they're reading at a level of a young adult book does not mean that they should be reading them. Okay, so we've got all of these different things. They do matter, but they're not the full story. Why should you care about the reading level? Well, knowing your child's reading level can help them emotionally. We want to encourage them, right? If a book is too hard, your child is more likely to be frustrated or discouraged. Have you heard it's too hard? That can lead to, I can't read, or similar statements. And we don't want that. Okay, when it is just too hard and they're frustrated, it's going to turn them off. But likewise, if the book is too easy, oh, that's boring. I don't want to read that, that's boring. It can also be a turn off. We want our children to like reading, right? We want them to be reading. Well, really the best way to grow as a reader is actually reading text that's not too hard and not too easy. And so this is why we should maybe want to know where they are at. This is their independent reading level. What can they read on their own, without your help? It's important to note, though, that when we're talking about reading levels, it's not just fluency. And by that I mean, how well can they read it without making a mistake or hesitation? But it's not just the fluency, it's also reading comprehension, how well they understand the material. Now, I have seen children who read fluently, but actually do not understand what they're reading. They can read it to me. They sound out those words beautifully. It sounds like they know everything, but they just don't understand it. And honestly, this is like me with German. Oh, I can read it. I can read it out loud really quite well. And I've had a German friend tell me, oh, you read that so beautifully. I didn't realize that you're fluent. I'm like, no, I'm not. I just don't fully understand it, but I can read it out loud well because it follows phonetics. So it is important to actually fully understand that it is, in the reading levels, it is fluency and comprehension. It is not one size fits all. Like most things in life, we can't just have this one size fits all. Reading levels are not that. Just I really don't think that children are just one grade level. Yes, they might be in 4th grade, but maybe they really are operating in 5th grade math level and 3rd grade reading. Children are all over the place. Not all 8-year-old children fit into 8-year-old clothing. And just because you're in 3rd grade, it doesn't mean that 3rd grade books are going to be a good fit either. So maybe your child, it's their reading level is actually higher, maybe considerably higher than their peers. Maybe they're not quite yet at reading level. And so this is why you need to know where they're at so that you can fit the book to them. Matching or fitting the right book to the right child is important. It's like with shoes, you want it to fit right. And in that, we look at content and the style of writing, their interest in it. All of this is going to play a part because you want them interested, you want them engaged, but you want the right amount of challenge or the right amount of engagement. It can't just be one size fits all. Do you have to follow reading levels with your kids? The short answer to that is no, you don't. You don't have to follow it, but they are a helpful tool, not a rigid rule. Okay. So if you're feeling bogged down and I have to know their reading level, remember, it's a helpful tool and not a rigid rule. No one will be happy if you enforce a reading level based on age or expectation. But you're in 5th grade and you should be reading these books. Okay. No, the most important thing is we want to foster a love of reading and that we see that their skills are developing. If a child is engaged, if they're enjoying a book, look, even if it's slightly above or slightly below their level, it's going to be beneficial. Reading is beneficial. And reading books at different levels will expose your children to the vocab and writing styles, and all of that is crucial for language development. However, reading levels, they're that helpful guide, okay? Because they're going to help you find books that, again, are not too easy or not too challenging. Okay, this is what we want to use our reading levels for. Okay, my child's interested in this. Can I find books that are going to match, that they are going to engage with and be excited with? And this is where we can monitor their reading levels so you get an idea of their growth, because they're not going to stay at this one level. We want them to level up. So the best approach really is to use reading levels as your starting point, not get stuck in it, and trust your child's interests and abilities that they will level up. How do I find my child's reading level? Well, reading level assessments are usually determined at school. We've done a lot of them. There's so many I remember doing is I look at fluency and comprehension. But if you're homeschooling, there are assessments that you can use. Now, my recommendation is do more than one because they're all slightly different in their approach. And one test might have your child maybe reading at a higher level, and one other tests might have them reading a little bit lower. You can average it out. So what are you looking for in it? Don't just go with one test because that's like what your friend does. Have a look around. Now, you can go to my website, LearningThis.Life, and in this, the post for this video, I will have the links to these so that you can have a look. We have the Macmillan online test. Like, that's actually a really good one. It's one that I like to use. And another one is like the Scholastic Reading Placement Test. That's one that you can print out and do with your child at home, and it shows you how to grade it. Again, it's solid. It's been around for a while. And then there's also like the Lexile framework. Many schools use this one. I remember using the Lexile framework. It's like all these numbers that you end up with, but again, shows reading levels. Now, of course, different curriculum are going to offer basic reading assessments, and it's really those are assessments for that curriculum because, you could do a reading assessment like with this curriculum, but it doesn't match like over here. Because remember, different curriculum are written in different ways, but you could do the basic reading assessment with the curriculum you're choosing. And you can also like pay to do different assessments. There's some at Let's Go Learn, has some good ones. Or you could do the tests like the ITBS or the Stanford tests, which are like national standardized tests. Now, these are assessments that are tools to help you, okay? They are just tools to help you get an idea, to gauge, but they shouldn't replace your judgment as a parent, okay? Observe your child's reading habits, like find out their comprehension, and you can do that easily by just getting them to talk about what they've been reading. And especially if you know the book, you're like, oh, okay, they get it or they don't. Are they actually enjoying it? Finding out all of these things. What are they reading? What are they enjoying? And this will actually get you a complete picture of their reading skills. So reading levels do matter, but they are not the whole story in this. Our goal and our aim should be that our children are reading, want to read, and that they keep leveling up. And we don't want to get bogged down with, but I have to know their exact reading level and I have to match it. That is going to cause you stress, and that's not going to be fun for anybody. Like, if you have any more questions about like reading levels and like what you could do or like recommendations on tests, like just shoot me a comment down below. But also don't forget to check out LearningThis.Life, where I will have the links to those tests and those assessments for you, and some of this great information. And I thank you so much for watching today and being part of this learning life. And you can help get these videos out. You can do that by becoming a champion. So check that out at patreon.com or at LearningThis.Life, where, yes, these links will be, and other great information and resources for you as we learn this life together.